Shalom, Gabe Greenberg here, Rabbi of Congregation Beth Israel in New Orleans, Louisiana, learning with you this week, as we do every week, the commentary of the Netziv on the weekly Torah portion. This week is Parshat Emor, and we're going to look at the verse in Leviticus chapter 22, verse 17. Now, the opening chapters of Leviticus dealt with an offering in the temple known as a korban nidava, which means a free-willed offering. And there's different types of these korbanot. There's an olah, there's a mincha, there's a shlamim, and these all have different meanings and how they're offered and what is offered. Here, the Torah is returning to the subject of the korban nidava, of the free-willed offering, to tell us that the animals which are sacrificed and offered up on the altar must be without blemish, without mum. And the Torah tells us what some of these types of blemishes are, which would negate or nullify or disqualify these offerings to be offered. However, in the course of the discussion, there's a couple of phrases which the Netziv is going to pick up on, and he is going to explain how, in his view, this section of the Torah is going to enhance or qualify our earlier understandings of what it means to bring a korban nidava, free will offering. So let's go to the text. This is Leviticus chapter 22, verse 17 in Parshat Emor. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe Emor. God spoke to Moses, saying, Daber el Aharon ve'el banav, speak to Aaron and his children, who are the Kohanim, the priests in charge of these offerings. V'el kol b'nei Yisrael, and speak to all of the Israelites. Ve'amarta alehem, say to them, Ish ish mi beit Yisrael, every person from the house of Israel, umin hager ba Yisrael, and also from amongst those resident aliens who are living amongst the Israelite people, asher yakriv korbano l'chol nidrehem l'chol nidvotam. Any of these people who will want to bring their offering, either to fulfill a vow they made to bring an offering, or as one of these free-willed offerings, asher yakrivu lahashem la'olah, which they will bring to God as an olah offering. An olah is one of these subcategories of free will offerings. It's the type which is fully consumed on the altar. So, and then the Torah goes on to say, Tamim Zachar, it has to be a pure, an unblemished animal, and there can be no problem with the animal in any way. The Netziv, earlier in his discussion of what it means to bring a korban olah, had noted that an olah offering, this offering which is totally consumed on the altar, is brought in conjunction with prayer. That someone who wishes to achieve a higher level of spiritual connection with God in their prayer would bring an olah to help raise their own internal spiritual awareness or level. And he brings, the Netziv cites two examples from Navi, from the prophetic literature, where first Samuel the prophet and King Saul later bring olah offerings in conjunction with their own prayer. So that's something that Netziv has said elsewhere, that the olah is connected with prayer. So now he's going to pick up on something interesting in our verse that we just read. Eino ra'ui lahavi olah, ella ish mibeit Yisrael. Someone should only bring an olah offering, this free-willed olah offering, if they are, quote, ish mibeit Yisrael, which was just a clause in our verse, a person from the house of Israel. Now, the pshat, the simple understanding of that clause or phrase is any Israelite person. But the Netziv is going to read it to mean something different. What does Ish Mebeit Yisrael, a person from the house of Israel, mean for the Netziv? Hainu, it means Sheyeh ben Torah v'yodea tachlit hakorban lahasig eze yedia be'elakut. what it means to be from the house of Israel is that you are learned in Torah and you understand that the purpose of the offering is to achieve a certain level of divine knowledge or understanding. Sheyavo mizeh letfila zaka mikubelet, and what will and you'll come through that, or what will flow from that, is a very clear and acceptable tefillah, prayer offered up to God. So what the Netziv is doing here is taking a seemingly simple phrase, meaning this is a command of God to all the Israelites, to all the Jews, and the Netziv is reading Ish mebeit Yisrael, a person from the house of Israel, to mean a certain type of person, a person who's on a high spiritual level and a high level of Jewish knowledge and understanding, who really would deeply understand what it means to bring a korban olah, this type of sacrifice, and it's to achieve a spiritual connection and a certain divine knowledge. Masha ein kain ish hediot, but it is not the case for a normal person or a simple person, asher ein da'ato misugelet kol zeh, whose knowledge or understanding isn't at this level, isn't capable of this type of divine connection. Such a person, zeh eino ra'ui lahavi olat nedava. Such a person should not bring an olat nedava, a free-willed offering. Now, this is a very innovative reading of the Netziv, because prior to this, we believed that any Israelite person can bring a free will offering if their heart, mind, soul moves them to do so. But here the Netziv is reading into this verse an understanding that it's really only a certain level of person, a certain type of person who has achieved, who's climbed the rungs of spiritual development, such that their connection with God and the divine is at such a level that they really would be able to connect with the power, the spiritual power that bringing this type of sacrifice would entail. He is not saying that it is asur, that it is prohibited for someone not in this level to bring a korban nedava, because that's simply not how the halacha, how the Jewish law developed. But he's saying it wouldn't be proper for a normal shlamiel, I point to myself in that case, to bring a korban nedava in this case. And now he connects it to another area of Jewish law. V'harei zeh ketfila. There's a similar law in the laws of prayer today. Shebin nedava ein lehitpalel im lo shehu zahir b'kavana. So you might know that there is 3 times for Jewish prayer daily, morning, afternoon, and night, shacharit, mincha, and mariv. And then there's an additional time during Rosh Chodesh, the new month, or on Shabbat, or on holidays. But any day of the week, there is the possibility for an extra davening. It's called a tefillah nedava, a free-willed davening, a free-willed prayer service, which exists outside of these 3 prayer times. But what the halacha says, and this is in Orach Chaim Siman Kuf Zayin, the section of the Shulchan Aruch of Orach Chaim, chapter 107, says that someone who wants to daven one of these extra prayer services, tzarich sheyehi makir et atzmo zariz v'zahir. Such a person has to generally identify as being very punctilious, in mitzvah observant, and very clear about what the laws are and what they're doing. V'amid b'dato sheyuchal lekavein b'tfilato merosh v'ad sof. They have to know that they're able to do the full prayer service with fully aware of every jot and tittle of the law, that they're going to keep a full and clear kavanah. They're going to be totally in line, and they won't drift. Their thoughts won't drift elsewhere. Avalim eno yachol lechavein yafeh, but someone who is not able to have this type of good and clear awareness, such a person we apply to them a verse elsewhere in the Torah, Lama li rov zivchechem, where Hashem says, why do I need all of your offerings? Which means, halavai sheyuchal lechavein b'shalosh tefilot hakvot lehem. Such a person, we would say, you already have 3 times a day to pray. Just work on getting those 3 times a day down. Don't worry about this extra prayer service. So the Netziv here is taking these laws of prayer, of the extra prayer service, the tefillah nidava, the free-willed prayer offering, and says, just like in the laws of prayer today, someone should not go out of their way to do an extra prayer service unless they're already at such a level that they know that they can have full attention, full kavanah, really understand every line and nuance and meaning of the prayer, and they're going to be totally with it and connected to all of that. And only such a person could think about doing an extra service. So too, he says, was the laws of the korbanot nidava, the free-willed sacrifices, that someone should not have gone out of their way to do a free-willed sacrifice unless they already had well taken care of all their other ritual obligations. Now, there's a very cool Latin term for those areas of law, and this is true in Jewish law, or I think in Christian law and Muslim law as well, that goes above and beyond what is demanded of you. It's called, those are supererogatory areas of observance. So bringing the free-willed offering or praying the free-willed the extra prayer service, these are supererogatory aspects of Jewish law and observance. And the Netziv here is saying that those are very nice and very good, and it's true. Normal people are not prohibited from doing these things, but really, he says, they should be reserved for people who are at a very high level of Jewish knowledge, Jewish observance, and spiritual awareness. And otherwise, it's that which is already commanded of us is so intensive and intense, and there's so much to it that it is worth it really to put our energies into fulfilling that which is already commanded of us, and to do that well. And only once we get to that level can we think about taking the next step forward. So I think that's an important lesson for us today. As always, a pleasure learning the Netziv with you, and I look forward to learning more with you next week. Bye-bye.